Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Long Stories and Long Days. Today, I want to talk about something that I think all of us experience but rarely expect. Life surprises. Not the surprises we plan, not the surprises we buy, but the surprises that arrive quietly and completely change the direction of our story. Because if I look back at my life, some of the most important chapters were never part of my original plan. You know why? Because life surprised me again and again. And somehow, every surprise helped me become the person I am today. So, you know what? The first surprise, leaving a co-ed school for a girls' college. That was my first surprise. Like many students, I became comfortable with familiarity. I studied in a co-education environment where boys and girls learn together. It was normal. It was what I knew. Then life surprised me. I entered a girls' college. At first, it felt different. A completely new environment, a completely new atmosphere, a completely new way of experiencing education. And you know what? I didn't know then that this change would teach me confidence. A girls' college gave me the opportunity to discover myself without constantly comparing myself to others. It gave me a space to express opinions, participate in activities, and grow into my own identity. So basically, what happened was that what initially felt unfamiliar eventually became one of the most valuable experiences of my life. Life surprised me by showing me that sometimes growth begins where comfort ends. And I used to wake up at 4 to reach that college. Okay, so the second surprise is that if you had asked me years ago about my future, I would have confidently told you that history was going to be a major part of it. Because I loved history. I loved stories. I loved understanding civilizations, culture, and people. History felt like home. So naturally, I imagined myself continuing with it for a long time. But life had other plans. There came a point when I could not carry that passion forward in the exact way I had imagined. And honestly, that was difficult. Because sometimes we are not grieving a loss, we are grieving a future we imagined. But you know what? Looking back, that ending created room for a new beginning. A beginning I never saw coming. That was quite amazing. So now there was third surprise, the mass communication entrance exam. One decision changed everything. I appeared for a mass communication entrance exam. At that time, I didn't fully understand how important that decision would become. I only knew that I was curious. Curious about journalism, curious about storytelling, curious about media. And what happened next? The thing that happened next surprised me. A completely new world opened. I passed my entrance exam, and that was the world of news writing, reporting, digital media, content creation, and storytelling through different formats. Suddenly, I discovered another way to tell stories. History had taught me how stories shaped the past. Mass communication taught me how stories shape the present. I went for the documentaries, I went for the fun trip, and somehow adventurous trip. Somehow both passion started coexisting. So now let's move away from academics for a moment, because not all surprises come from careers. Some come from people also. And one of the happiest surprises of my college years happened on my birthday. My college friends planned a surprise birthday celebration at my home. I had absolutely no idea, no hints, no clues, nothing. And when it happened, I was genuinely shocked. You know why? Because what made it special wasn't the party itself, it was the thought behind it, the effort, the friendship, The realization that people cared enough to create a beautiful memory. Years later, I may forget what gifts I received, but I still remember how that surprise made me feel. You know what? Seen, valued, loved. Sometimes life's greatest surprises are not achievements, they are moments of connection. Now let's talk about another surprise that is also related to academic results. One that genuinely shocked me. I was an average student and my academic results used to be say average, but when I completed graduation I was happy. I was also realistic. Like many students, I knew higher education becomes more challenging as we progress. The syllabus becomes tougher, expectations become higher, competition becomes stronger. So naturally, I assumed that maintaining high percentage would become increasingly difficult. But you know what happened? Again, the life surprised me. I completed my graduation with excellent results, like first division. Then I completed my postgraduate diploma in mass communication. Again, excellent results, first division. Then came my master's degree, once again, first division. To be honest, there were moments when I looked at the results and thought, did this really happen? Because many students believe that higher education in art side automatically means lower percentages. But sometimes consistent effort produces results beyond our expectations. Those results were not just numbers, they were reminders. Reminders that discipline matters. Reminders that persistence matters. Reminders that hard work often works quietly before it becomes visible. Now there's another chapter where life surprised me was recognition. I never started my journey thinking about awards. Never. I started because I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed storytelling. I enjoyed creating. Yet over time, awards arrived, honors arrived, recognition arrived, and every time it happened, I felt grateful. Not because awards define success, but because they remind us that our work is reaching people, that our efforts matter, that our stories have value. Every award felt less like a finish line and more like an encouragement to keep going. And this is why I love the theme of long stories and long days. Because life is not built in dramatic moments alone. Most of life happens in ordinary days, like the classrooms, the library, the examination hall, the bus ride, the conversation with friends, the evenings spent studying, the mornings spent doubting yourself, the long days that seem ordinary while you are living them. But years later, those ordinary days become the story. And when we look back, we realize something very beautiful. You know what? The surprises were being prepared during those ordinary days all along. So, what life taught me about surprises? If life has taught me anything, it is this: you do not need to have everything figured out. Sometimes the road you planned won't happen. Sometimes the dream you expected will change. Sometimes the opportunity you never considered will transform your life. And you know what? That's okay. Because uncertainty is not always a problem. Sometimes uncertainty is simply the beginning of a surprise. A good surprise, the kind that introduces you to a version of yourself you haven't met yet. So it's like when I think about my journey from a commerce student to a history student to mass communication to mass Gandhi and peace studies to writing, storytelling, awards, and countless unexpected experiences, I realized something. Very little happened exactly according to plan, and yet so much turned out beautifully. Life surprised me with a girls' college. Life surprised me with a new career path. Life surprised me with friendships. And you know what? Life surprised me with academic achievements. Life surprised me with recognition. And perhaps life still has many surprises waiting. And that is what makes a story exciting. We don't know the next chapter, we don't know the next opportunity, we don't know the next miracle, but we keep turning the page. Because every long story is built one day at a time, one surprise at a time, one chapter at a time. And sometimes the best part of our lives are the parts we never planned. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode of Long Stories and Long Days.